Welcome to The Spot. First episode of the podcast. We got Nolan Rockers, the founder of Opinion Clothing. Appreciate you coming on the first episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell me who you are, man. Like, where you from? Like How did you get here?
Yeah, so I'm Nolan Rockers. I'm from St. Louis Park originally. I now live in Minneapolis. Went to St. Louis Park High School. Graduated in 2013 and then went to Gustavus Adolphus College and graduated there in 2017. Spent like the first year after graduating looking for jobs. Couldn't really find the job that I wanted. And, long story short, I was in kind of like the lowest part of my life and decided to start Opinion at that time, which now that I look back at it, it's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. But now we're 3 years ahead and still going. So
if I may ask, why Opinion?
So Opinion, I started that because, like I said, I was doing the job process, job searching, and had tons of interviews, but all of them came back as no's. Like I said, I was in a pretty low point and was up one night, late at night, thinking about how I can't get mad at these people turning me away from the job just because of what they saw from a piece of paper and knowing me for about 15 minutes. And I told myself, that's just their opinion about me. And I can't let that affect me if that opinion of me not necessarily was negative, but I know who I am as a person. And so that's the only thing that really matters to me.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have an opinion about me, but in the end, it's what I think of myself. And so that's kind of how I came up with it. I also kind of looked back at my childhood and realized how many things I wish I would have stuck with, but didn't because I was too nervous of being like judged or made fun of. And so like kind of combining those two things, I came up with Opinion and thought, it's a singular word that can have a lot of meaning behind it as well.
That is dope.
So yeah, that's how I came up with that.
That's a really good name because when I first found it, I was like, Opinion. At first I was like, Opinion. And then I really sat with it. I was like, man, that's a really good name.
Yeah.
Like, it's a solid name.
Yeah.
And you're right. It does have it has such a deep meaning. Like anybody can relate to Opinion
exactly
in some way.
Yep.
No matter where they are, at what point in their lives they are at.
Exactly.
Which is super dope. So thank you for shedding light and sharing, how you came to Opinion. So I did a little bit of research, but not too much because I wanted to come with a fresh mind.
Yep.
There's one name that did pop up and tell me about the relationship with Jeremy Sutherland. Like, who is he?
Yeah.
How did you guys meet? And I know you've mentioned like he's been a great impact as a person when you were growing your business or.
Yeah. So that night that I started Opinion, I looked up on Google Minneapolis streetwear brands, and the first thing that popped up was Hybrid Nation, which is the brand that Jeremy owns. I went to their Instagram and like fell in love with exactly what their brand was doing, the style, and I was like, I need to figure out who's in charge of this brand and, just meet them or at least get in contact with them. And so I remember I just shot him a DM and told him my story. And yeah, it's pretty weird how like we live in the age of social media where that can happen. And so, yeah, I just started like, I don't really remember how exactly it happened, but I think I started showing up to places where he was, like events or whatnot, and we just started chopping it up. And then the biggest event was I quit my full-time job last summer, and he owns a painting business as well, and he hired me on as a painter. And so then we were with each other the whole summer painting, but also just like talking business all day as we were painting. And that's when I think he saw in me that I was willing to, go above and beyond
You
for
were in it
opinion.
for the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just trying to make a couple bucks off a couple t-shirts. It was, I'm ready to actually try this. And so, yeah, after last summer, we were just around each other a ton, and we did a collaboration with Hibernation last fall, which did super well. And yeah, from there on, we've just been really good friends, and he's been in the clothing industry for like 10 years. So he's really been like a mentor to me with, any questions that I have, introduced me to a lot of people that I definitely wouldn't have met without him being in my life. So yeah, he's definitely been like a strong mentor and a good friend to me, which, yeah, it's kind of hard to find now, but glad I ran into him.
No, that's good, man.
Yeah.
And I agree, it is hard to find people like that. I think things are it's meant to be, there's some things that are meant to happen. If it's meant for you, it's meant to be. If it's not, then it won't miss you and you won't miss it.
I'm a huge believer in that.
Yeah. Like a lot of us like to like gravitate to like what's popular or like what's happening. And then we assume like that's destiny. Like we're supposed to have that.
Yes.
But in reality, those things don't make us happy.
Yep.
You have to really dig in. So I really like that you were able to connect with somebody on that level.
Yep.
And he was able to see that it wasn't just something you were just chasing for clothing, because like that kind of is the main thing, streetwear. Like if you're streetwear or like kind of like somebody on YouTube or things, like you're kind of chasing what everybody else is chasing. And a lot of those people don't really have the passion for it. They're just doing it for the clout.
Yep.
So I'm glad that he was able to see that, because just from hearing your story of like how you came up with opinion, like you can really tell just in your voice.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and appreciate just going in depth on Jeremy.
Yeah.
Just because he is somebody that I kept looking at when I was doing research.
How did he come up? That's like
so I do a little bit digging, because I kind of wanna know where I'm navigating in the conversation.
Yeah.
So the way I do is I look and I just see, like, I looked up your Insta and I saw him pop up and I was like, who is he? And I didn't want to read too much, but I clicked on his page, scrolled down a little bit, and I was like, okay. I was like, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, so he must mean something. So I was like, let me put this as a topic of a conversation.
Dude, that was kudos to you.
Yeah.
That was a really good start off question. And
yeah.
I mean, most people have to know me for a long time to like know that he's been like a mentor to me. Mm-hmm. So that was a really good question. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah. Like I said, I do my research. I just don't do too much, because I don't want to be like.
I want the conversation.
I want the conversation. I want the fresh mind.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
That was really good.
So yeah, with that, so there was another thing that I came upon was the Creative Art Festival. Yeah. That was a huge thing, I believe. Just from a little bit of research, saw the video. I was like, wow, this is a really good video. How did you find out about Creative Art Festival, and how did you come to be a part of it?
So Adrian he was the guy who set it all up and ran everything. Gosh, I forget how like I met some of these people. A lot of it's just through like Instagram and like them reaching out to the brand and saying, hey, would love to like grab coffee with you and just meet who the person is behind this brand and then get to know you better. So I believe that's how I met Adrian. I can't remember, but he just wanted to get a big group of creative people. It didn't have to be clothing. It was everything. It was photographers, dancers, singers, clothing, and get them all under one roof and have a crowd of people that were interested in that area as well, and just show it all off. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it came to be. Just shot me a message and was like, would love for you to be a part of this. It's still in the works, but it's definitely going to happen. So I was like, of course, like that's sounds like a great opportunity. So, yeah.
That's a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
And hopefully he still does more.
Mm-hmm.
I know with COVID, it kind of changed a lot of things. But one of the things I seen you do was you do help like Spam FC,
Yep.
and you've done a lot of like raising money
Yeah.
and giving shout outs to other orgs.
Yep.
So one in particular was the Vasquez family, just
Mhm.
because that was a little bit more recent.
Yep.
How did you hear about them, and like what, like did they approach you, or like did you just like word around town and
Yeah.
you just reached out? Or
Yeah, so the original goal of Opinion was, this is before I understood like how a clothing brand actually worked,
Mhm.
or like getting it started. I wanted to do a drop every month and then have the proceeds go to an organization. Found out very quickly that I didn't have enough money to do a drop every month and then also give away the money, because
Yeah.
then I needed to put money back in to have it grow and then be able to do that. So it was one night I type in Minneapolis on Instagram a lot and then just go through all the photos and interact with them, just to, one, see what's going on in Minneapolis, and two, for them to see who our brand is just off like organic reach.
Mhm.
And I just came across this photo of her and her son and just caught my eye because, I mean, he's such a cute kid, but you could tell he was sick. And so I clicked on it, and it was like the story of what their family was going through. And I was like, well, we're about to drop these beanies. And so I was like, now's a good time to kind of do what you've always wanted to do with the brand, was, you know, help give back. And so I just reached out to the family and said, hi, I'm Nolan. Like, I have a small little brand that would love to help with any bills or chip in to, you know, help you guys out. And I love your story. And, you know, your son looks like an amazing kid. And I know he's battling a lot right now, but if we can help in any way, we would love to. So they said, yeah, anything helps. Let us know how we can help. And I was like, all right, we'll give all the proceeds from these 2 beanies to your family. And yeah, it did well. We sold 50, and then right away they were gone, and then reordered 50, and those sold out too. So we sold 100 hats, and all the proceeds went to them.
Are they still raising money, or are they all finished?
To be honest, I don't think they'll ever stop raising money, because his medical bills will always be, you know, in the back of their mind. But the beanies, we're done selling those. I think they're okay now with like where they're at. Their son is like super healthy now, and like he's doing really, really well. They're from California, so they moved here to be at Children's Hospital, and now they're fully back in California and like doing super well. So yeah.
Bringing that up, just to share a little bit of my life. Mm-hmm. I'm originally from California.
Really?
Yeah, Bakersfield. Okay. And I was born in Bakersfield, but I was raised in Shafter. But we actually came here for Children's Health.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, yeah.
That's a very small world.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But we ended up staying here. Yeah. We like the weather.
Really?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I grew older and I was like, I don't like it no more.
Yeah. That's awesome though.
Yeah. So again, you raised a lot of money. You've done a lot of things. What is like your ultimate goal of like helping? Like, are you planning to like be more involved in nonprofit stuff, or foundations like to raise money for like a fight against cancer organizations, or do you have any kind of goals to be more involved in those kind of things?
It's all, like I said in the beginning, that was always going to be the plan. I just love that feeling of, you know, giving back and helping other people. I'm more of like spur of the moment kind of person, where it's like I ran across them and I was like, well, we're having these hats dropping next week. Let's just do it. But now I'm sort of planning it out a little. I have a Pit Bull Mastiff mix, and I just have, you know, he's changed my life, and we are creating a t-shirt with like a pit bull on it. And we're going to give like, I don't know the exact amount, per shirt back to the foundation that I rescued him from. Now with that, we like based the design off, where the profit was going to go to and whatnot. So yes and no, I'm still
figuring it
out, but I definitely want to do that in the future more.
Okay, that's really dope, especially with the pit bull. Just because I got a brother-in-law that does breed pit bulls.
Really?
And he takes them to competitions.
Really?
Yeah, he's won quite a few. Some in Texas, some here.
Yeah, so my dog is from Texas. He was rescued from Texas.
Yeah.
And brought up here.
Is that your first pit bull, or is it?
First dog and then first pitty.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So leading up to that, I know you mentioned design. How do you come up with the designs? Like, is it you and a whole group of other people that are a part of Opinion? Mm-hmm. Or how do you come to the creative process of designing this specific one? Example would be the Opinion with the cherry with the spoon. That was an amazing design.
Yeah. So been just me doing Opinion the whole time. I don't have like a team or anything, but I do ask for help from like certain people sometimes. So like for the cherry and the spoon, I asked a friend. She was like, yeah, I can draw it up for you. And I was like, perfect. So she drew it up, and it was actually different than I wanted the cherry and spoon to be the first O, but she did it to the second O, and I was like, that looks way better. So I had her draw that, and then I think I just went on Instagram and said, can anyone help me design this like in vector form? And so someone did it for me, and that's how we came up with that. But now I've met enough people where I can say, hey, I have this idea. Can you design this for me? And I'll pay you. So like kind of contracted.
Okay.
Yeah. It used to be just like grinding to find anyone that could help me. But now it's like I have one or two people that can help me do it.
All right. That's dope, man. Because, it is a grind to find somebody to design stuff. Like from personal experience, like my logo that would be coming out soon. That one took a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes a long time.
It takes a long time, a lot of rough drafts, a lot of revisions, but I think I got a solid one. So let's talk about a little bit more recent stuff. Your business, you're building a brand. You've been doing it for 3 years. What was it like when COVID hit, man? Because that was rough on everybody, and especially I can't even imagine somebody still in the beginning stages.
Yeah. So I quit my job, my full-time job, pretty much when like COVID was starting to become super serious. And that was rough. Yeah, just like not knowing what's going to happen with the brand and also not knowing what's happening in the world was kind of a double whammy. But it was also not so bad because, I mean, some people were making more money during COVID than they would in like regular times because they were getting stimulus checks and they were getting, some people were making more off of unemployment. So sometimes we did see more sales because people were like, well, I have a little extra cash and I want to support a smaller business. So it kind of evened out a little, but it definitely, I like it being normal rather than having like the COVID experience.
I agree. Yeah. Me personally, I kind of went through a mental rut. Like during the whole shutdown, and I believe I can safely say that for 99%, maybe there was like a 0.01 that didn't, but I believe it affected a lot of us. Like, how did you stay motivated? How did you stay inspired to keep continuing to build this brand? Because a lot of us like stopped like living, like going to the gym, like doing the things we love, like just because we were stuck inside so much.
I mean, there definitely were times where I was in a rut too. Like it wasn't total motivation, but it was also like, that's the reason I started Opinion, is because I love that it's mine. And I know the work that I put into it is what I get back. So I don't like to just sit there and do nothing because I know then we're not going to be growing. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, the more time I had by myself, And like in the house, it was just, what can I do for opinion?
Okay.
It's like thinking of even more things that I wouldn't have thought of if I was just alone by myself, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. So you took that time and instead of like, like allowing that stuff to like stop you from what you like to do, you instead threw yourself into work. I seen quite a few people, I shouldn't say a couple, quite a few people during this whole pandemic. Like some people started picking up instruments and started practicing. You personally, you dove yourself into opinion and just started grinding that out.
Yeah, because I knew like you can either go two ways. You could say, this pandemic sucks, like boo-hoo, like for me, I'm stuck inside. Or you can say, well, first of all, I'm healthy. Like there's a lot of people going through actually having COVID, and like it's not fun. And I was like, right, I'm healthy. What can I do to just keep this brand going and keep a positive outlook, I guess?
Yeah. When you were doing sales, like, did you do specific drops? Like, how do you choose when to drop a clothing?
That's another good question. I try and plan like a couple months, or that's something I'm still working on. To be honest, is like understanding how far out to plan something, because it's like I have like tons of ideas, and then I have to narrow that down to like maybe one or two, just because I don't have that much money to spend on this. And then sometimes the samples don't turn out, and then you have to keep ordering samples to get it right, and then that pushes back when you like want to drop it and everything. So I try and plan it out like 4 to 5 months ahead. So like right now we're starting to order like all of our fall winter stuff for like samples and whatnot. And then hopefully those turn out exactly how we want them, and then we can just order bulk.
Nice. Just because I know like some people like to strategically drop it, like in quarters and stuff like that. But that's pretty dope, man. And you'll definitely get that figured out real quick for yourself. So we're gonna bring it back to COVID, just because that was a huge year. In what ways did you stay connected? I know you're involved hugely on Insta. Do you use Twitter? Do you use Facebook? Do you like? In what ways did you stay connected with them and keep pushing, opinion and like letting them know, like, hey, like you can keep going?
Like you said, lots of Instagram. I love staying connected on Instagram just through posting content and responding to people. We do have Twitter. Starting to use it more now. We do have Facebook. We've always been active on Facebook. That's for more of like Facebook's more of the older demographic, I guess. So it's just not a lot of interaction on there, like commenting and stuff, but people do still see the stuff. But Instagram was the big thing. Just like reaching out to people that, put on their stories if they were struggling, or you could tell they were going through something, just hitting them up and just saying like, hey, this is Nolan. Like, I'm the only person who runs this account. If you ever need to talk to someone, like, it's me who will be answering. It's a brand, but it's also me as a person. So had some really good conversations with people just through doing that. And then TikTok I started getting into TikTok a lot, trying to grow on there and going live I've only gone live a couple times on there, but just people asking questions on there is cool to see, and just people in different parts of the United States asking questions about the brand and, what they're doing during COVID and whatnot was cool to see.
That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah.
I like that. Just because you're making you're making opinion, like you're building a culture within your brand. And that's important. That's super important.
Definitely.
I like that. So, very simple question: if you could go back in time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself, like as an advice or a tip?
I would say don't start too, the word. So when we started, I started right away with cut and sew.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do like just printing on blank t-shirts and whatnot, which is like way cheaper, way easier. And I went straight to cut and sew. I had all these crazy ideas. I would tell myself to slow it down. That will come in the future. I needed to understand the basics before I got into the major details.
I like that you brought that up. Because you started off building this, like, what did you use as reference to like navigate through these waters? Did you like watch a lot of interviews? Like who inspired you? Like who inspired you? Like who's somebody you look at and you're like, oh, they built this. I want to do this for my company, but I'm going to do it in my own way.
Yep.
And I'm going to use what they used as reference, like kind of a navigate, like a way to navigate through these waters.
That question. So the first one that comes to mind is hibernation, like we talked about in the beginning. I was like, that's the streetwear I was looking for. They have an awesome message and, they have really good content. So that was like an actual realistic one. I call it YouTube University. I don't think people understand how much power YouTube has, where you can just look up how to do something and it's on there. I mean, I've been a huge YouTube fan, watching YouTube videos all the time. So I've just kind of been surrounded by that, but you can find really good videos on major brands and they talk about tips and tricks into like clothing. There's some clothing brand specific YouTube channels that I watch, just answering like some basic questions up to like really detail oriented questions. And then the major thing going back to the other question, what I would tell my 18-year-old self is get a mentor. That's not as easy as it sounds. You can just go out and ask around for mentors, but like
it's not the same.
Right. You have to connect with that person on like a personal level and everything. But if you find someone, like triple down on that person and ask any question you can, because you'd much rather ask a question and then make a mistake and say, I wish I would have asked the question earlier.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a dumb question, who cares?
This is something I always tell my nieces and my nephews, even my coworkers, and people I've trained in the job. There's no such thing as a dumb question.
I believe that too.
The dumb thing is not asking the question.
Yep.
Because how else are you going to learn? How else are you're going to know the answer? Like, that's the only way to know the answer.
And I've made some pretty big mistakes with this brand, and it could have been solved just by me asking like a simple question.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing is that I believe in, is just ask. Like, and if they think it's a dumb question, it's probably you're probably asking the wrong person.
Yeah. I think a lot of people they need to swallow that ego and don't let the temporary emotion of feeling dumb stop you from progressing.
Yeah.
Because those questions can be the thing that turns a business into Nike or freaking what's another good Adidas.
Yeah.
That was a good answer, man. I liked it. I liked it a lot. One thing I've seen, I don't know if you can shed light, if you can talk much about it. You found an investor, man.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
Yeah.
I saw that. You posted it a few days ago.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was just like, that's what we're talking about right there. When they came and reached out to you, like, what did you feel like? What went through your mind of that? Because like, a lot of things could come through your mind when they make an offer like that.
Yeah. The first thing that came to my mind, they gave me complete freedom of making what the deal entailed. And I had no idea how to do any of that. So like, first thing I thought was, like, I went to Google and said like how to make a business contract, or like how to like understand what your company is worth.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a super small company. So I spent like a week trying to figure that out, watched a lot of Shark Tank.
I can guess, like, for me, if like somebody made an offer like that, I would think, what does it like? What are you trying, like, because nothing's free in this world, and there's always there's always some intent behind it. Like, are you coming with good intentions, or are you coming with bad intentions to take over?
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about proprietorship.
Yeah.
Where you think you have the rights, but in reality, they own the name. And that's where they get you. Did you look for stuff like that? Did you speak to a lawyer to like make sure like it?
So this was who invested was a close friend.
Oh, okay.
Which I was really lucky. So it's more of,
there was a good foundation already.
This wasn't like out of the blue. It was something we've talked about for a long time. I just at the point where I needed financial help to start making bulk orders that I couldn't even afford. And this person could help me with that. They also see like a bright future for Opinion, which is pretty hard to come by when not a lot of people, if it's your company, you think it can go to the moon.
To the moon and back.
Yeah. But it's like when you find someone else that believes in that, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And to put their own money into it is another thing. So
puts that company in a different light.
Yeah. So I sat down and was like, 3 years ago, if I had thought someone would want to invest in it with me, I would have said yes right away. And like just to understand that it was happening was kind of surprising in itself. So I kind of had to sit down for a second and like, because I can get easily caught up in just wanting to have more and more and more for the company. That's just who I am. Because like I said, when you have your own brand, you see it so much farther ahead than it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to kind of like swallow my pride and be like, it's time to give a little bit of it up so it can grow that much more. Because doing it all by myself, it's nice, but it's not sustainable to do all by yourself.
Yeah, and that's a thing a lot of people don't realize. You need a team. Like you need a network. You need to build something in order to build a company or a brand. Like you have to have a team. You have to have a network of business partners, like just people that might not be in the same business.
Yep.
Like clothing, but like they might be in other stuff like workout equipment or something.
No, yeah.
But they're all trying to grow it, and you can like just connect with each other and help each other grow.
And this was also me giving up part of the company for this person's network. Like it would have taken me, I'm not as outgoing as some other people are. And so it might have taken me 30 years to get the type of network that this person has. And so me giving away part of the company to have that network was pretty much the no-brainer part of it.
Okay. That's good, man. And I'm glad that you made that option to sell a little piece just to keep it going. Just because like from our conversation and my research, your brand does remind me kind of have you ever read the book Shoe Dog?
Yep. I just finished that a couple months ago.
Okay. Such a great book. But it kind of like reminds me, you remind me of him when he was starting up Nike. Like he was like getting these orders and like he was like, how am I going to come up with this money? Like it was just, living check by check.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me of that.
And that book shed a lot of light on understanding how big a company can be and not have any cash flow or like, he was broke.
Broke.
I mean, if he wanted to stop, then he would have like a couple $1 million, but he just throws it all back in to the brand.
Yeah.
So like when people are thinking, oh, I sold part of Opinion and they're like, made some money off it. No. All of that is going straight into Opinion. Like I'm not even touching any of that money.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand is like when you get an investor, that's not when you get the money.
No.
That's where your company starts to pick up pace and you go from a little slow jog to a steady, a little bit more of a sprint, but not full run.
You understand.
Yeah.
Like when Nike really became big was when they went public.
Yep.
And like that was, I forget how many years down the line that was.
That was a while.
But like
it took years.
He was going, like you said, check to check, for a long time trying to figure out how to get these loans. And yeah, that book was a very big eye-opener.
Mhm.
And I'm glad I read that book because it just shows one of the biggest companies in the world goes through what every small brand thinks only small brands go through.
Yeah.
But every big brand starts as a small brand.
Mm-hmm. Everybody starts at the bottom, man.
Yep.
Everybody does. I'm glad we got to have that conversation. Love the book, Shoe Dog.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, read it.
And I don't read books.
You know?
I don't like reading unless it's like, I can tell in the first couple
pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that one I was like, all right.
Do you do audiobooks? Audiobooks?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found just because like I have work and then I have this as well now.
Mm-hmm.
I try to balance that out, and I find that not only just like I'll get the book, like the physical book, but also do audiobooks.
Okay.
And then I will do like when I'm working out or when I'm doing my bike ride.
Yep.
I put the audiobook on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's smart, actually.
Yeah, that way like you're not stuck to one thing.
Yeah.
You're absorbing the information two different ways. So you might miss something in the audiobook, but the nice thing is like you might go through it again.
Yeah, never thought of it like that.
Yeah. I tried a lot of different memory stuff because super bad at memory.
Yeah, I have a bad memory too. Yeah, really bad memory.
Yeah, but I feel you.
Like with names and.
Oh my god! Don't even get me started with names.
Yeah. Bad.
I'm super bad. I had to practice your name multiple times.
I mean, yours is unique. So like, I was like, Jesus is very easy.
I just didn't want to get your name wrong. No. So I was like all night last night. I was like Nolan Rocker. Nolan Rocker. I was like, nice to meet you, Nolan Rocker. You know,
you got it right.
Yeah, because I didn't want to mess it up. I'm super bad with names, and I usually apologize, but I found like that's not an excuse. Like it's something I can live with, but like some people might take it wrong.
Yeah.
So, and if you're trying to grow in a business, like you can't just meet somebody and be like, you're in a meeting with like a CEO or CEO. They don't want you to get their name wrong.
I mean, I just wouldn't really. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I get called Noah a lot and like Owen when I like introduce myself verbally because it's I don't know.
Hey, I get Jose.
Yeah,
I get Jose, Jesse. Yeah, that I don't know. The lunch ladies at school called me Jesse all the time. It was a big problem. I was like, my name's Jesus.
Yeah,
and they were like, they were like, hey, Zeus, like Zeus. I was like, no, like not a Z, like hey, Zeus.
Wow.
It's like Dr. Seuss, but hey, Zeus. And they would just never get in. I was just like, I gave up and I just accepted it. Yeah, I just accepted it.
That's funny.
So during this journey of growing your clothing brand, do you feel like you accomplished some form of your goal, or do you feel like you're still not there yet?
That's a question I really struggle with because people always come up to me and they're like, oh, Opinion's doing so well. And I understand where they're coming from, but I always just say I'm proud, but I'm not satisfied. Like I said, I have goals that are always being updated.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm extremely proud. I'm really hard on myself. So sometimes it takes someone asking a question like that for me to be like, you need to sit down and understand that you literally didn't know anything about clothing or owning a business or doing any of this, and you did it by yourself and you've made it 3 years. Doesn't matter about, how, if you made profit or whatnot, like you're here doing it. I've definitely reached goals that I've wanted to reach, but they're easily forgotten because
you move on to the next goal.
I get way too caught up in just creating future goals. So yeah, if that answers the question.
No, it does. It answers it. And I'm the exact same way. My brother has to remind me every now and then, but yeah, it's very true. You got to sometimes like just like you may not be you're like satisfied, but you're not like fulfilled.
Yeah. I mean, I have it tattooed right here. You are your biggest critic, which is our slogan pretty much. You need to take some time sometimes to not be so hard on yourself and, give yourself some credit. It's not being selfish when you're proud of yourself. Yeah.
That's a great thing to say. It's a great thing for people to hear, especially during these, like, now we're going back to norm.
Yeah.
I love it. Where can listeners connect with you if you want to plug your Instagram?
Yeah. So our Instagram is Opinion Clothing Company. Opinion952 is our Twitter. And then our TikTok is Opinion Clothing.
Do you do any dances or
not dancing? It's more like showing the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if you were on the hype train.
No. I mean, there's some like comedic ones in there, but
okay.
no, I'm not doing it.
I'm just saying, like, you can with it.
I don't disrespect the hustle, but I'm not doing that.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
And it's always good to leave on a laughing, like just a good laughter. I extremely believe laughter is the best medicine.
Definitely.
So we're going to end it here.
Yep.
And stay tuned for the next episode. And we'll be making a trailer or a little clip preview
awesome.
before we release the video. So have a wonderful day, y'all.